What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actors walks onto a morning show set only to find himself facing the most aggressive interrogation of his career? What happens when a seasoned news anchor decides to abandon all professionalism and launch a personal attack disguised as journalism? You're about to witness a television moment that nobody saw coming. A clash so intense that it ended with security being called and a major celebrity being escorted off the premises of Good Morning America. This is the story of how George Stephanopoulos crossed every line in the book, turning what should have been a routine promotional interview into a career-defining disaster. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below, letting me know what you think about morning show interviews gone wrong. Trust me, you're going to want to share your thoughts after hearing what went down. It was supposed to be just another Tuesday morning at the Good Morning America studios in Times Square. Michael B. Jordan had arrived early, looking sharp in a tailored navy suit, ready to promote his latest directorial project. The actor, known for his roles in Black Panther and Creed, had done hundreds of these interviews before. He knew the routine, expected the usual softball questions about his craft, his inspiration, maybe a few personal tidbits about his life. What he didn't expect was to walk into what can only be described as an ambush. George Stephanopoulos sat behind the curved desk, shuffling through his notes with an unusual intensity. The production crew noticed something different about his demeanor that morning. A sharpness in his movements, a tension in his jaw that suggested this wasn't going to be the typical promotional chat. Makeup artists later reported that George had been unusually quiet during his preparation, declining his usual coffee and barely acknowledging the staff who had worked with him for years. As Michael settled into the guest chair, adjusting his lapel mic and exchanging pleasantries with the crew, George barely looked up from his papers. The cameras rolled. The familiar Good Morning America theme music faded, and what followed was unlike anything viewers had ever seen on morning television. Michael B. Jordan. "Welcome to Good Morning America," George began, his voice carrying an edge that immediately put everyone on alert. "Though I have to wonder if you're as comfortable being here as you pretend to be." Michael's eyebrows raised slightly, a professional smile still fixed on his face. "Good morning, George. Great to be here. Not sure what you mean by pretending, but I'm always happy to talk about my work." "Your work?" George repeated, leaning forward with an expression that could only be described as predatory. "Let's talk about your work. Let's talk about how you've built a career on playing characters that supposedly represent strength and integrity, while your real life tells a completely different story." The studio fell silent. Camera operators exchanged glances. Producers in the control room sat frozen, and Michael's publicist, who had been casually scrolling through her phone in the green room, suddenly snapped to attention as she watched the monitors. "I'm sorry, what exactly are you referring to?" Michael asked, his voice remaining steady, but his posture straightening defensively. George shuffled his papers theatrically, as if consulting some damning evidence. "Oh, I think you know exactly what I'm referring to. The pattern of behavior, the way you've manipulated your image, the calculated moves you've made to position yourself as America's golden boy, while hiding who you really are." "George, I came here to talk about my new film," Michael said, his professional facade beginning to crack. "If you have specific questions about my work or my career, I'm happy to answer them, but I'm not sure what you're trying to imply here." "What I'm implying," George shot back, his voice rising slightly, "is that our viewers deserve to know the truth about the people they're supposed to look up to. They deserve to know about the real Michael B. Jordan, not this carefully crafted persona your publicity team has created." The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Michael's jaw tightened, and for the first time since sitting down, his composure showed genuine cracks. "The real Michael B. Jordan is sitting right here, George. I've never pretended to be anything other than what I am. I work hard. I respect the craft. I try to use my platform responsibly. I'm not sure what more you're looking for." "Responsibility?" George scoffed. Actually scoffed on live television. That's rich coming from someone who has systematically shut out opportunities for other actors, who has used his influence to ensure he stays at the top, while others struggled to get even a fraction of the recognition they deserve. Michael's eyes flashed, and viewers could see the exact moment his patience began to evaporate. "That's completely false, and frankly, it's insulting. I've spent years mentoring young actors, supporting emerging talent, using my production company to create opportunities for people who look like me and people who don't. I don't know where you're getting your information, but it's wrong." "Is it wrong?" George pressed, leaning back in his chair with a smug expression. Or is it just inconvenient for your narrative? Tell me, Michael, how many times have you actively campaigned against other black actors for roles? How many times have you pulled strings behind the scenes to ensure the competition never even got a fair shot? The question was so outrageous, so clearly designed to provoke, that even the seasoned crew members began to shift uncomfortably. Michael's publicist was now standing, frantically gesturing to the producers, trying to figure out how to intervene without creating an even bigger scene. "George, I don't know what game you're playing here," Michael said, his voice dropping to a dangerous quiet. "But you're way out of line. I've never campaigned against anyone, black or otherwise. I've never pulled strings to hurt other people's careers. The fact that you would even suggest that shows how little you actually know about me or the industry." "The industry," George repeated mockingly. "The industry that you've manipulated so expertly. The industry where you've convinced everyone that you're this humble, hard-working artist, while secretly operating like a corporate shark. Tell me, how does it feel to know that your success has come at the expense of others who are more talented, but less politically savvy?" Michael's hands gripped the arms of his chair, his knuckles whitening. "More talented? George, are you seriously sitting there questioning my talent on national television? Are you seriously suggesting that I don't deserve the success I've worked for since I was a child?" "I'm suggesting," George said, his voice dripping with condescension, "that talent isn't the only factor in success, and you know it better than anyone. I'm suggesting that our viewers have a right to know how the sausage really gets made in Hollywood, especially when it involves someone who presents himself as a role model." "A role model," Michael repeated, shaking his head in disbelief. "George, I've tried to be a positive influence, to use my platform to inspire young people, to represent my community with pride and dignity. If that threatens you somehow, if that makes you uncomfortable, then maybe the problem isn't with me." George's face reddened at the implication, and his mask of journalistic objectivity finally slipped completely. "Threatens me? You think this is about me feeling threatened by you? That's exactly the kind of arrogance I'm talking about. The assumption that everyone else's problems stem from jealousy or intimidation." "No, George," Michael said, leaning forward now, his voice gaining strength. "I think this is about you trying to create a moment, trying to manufacture controversy where none exists. I think this is about you forgetting what journalism is supposed to be and turning this interview into some kind of personal attack for reasons I can't even begin to understand." The tension in the studio was now palpable. Crew members were looking to the producers for guidance. The control room was in chaos, and George Stephanopoulos was about to cross a line that would change everything. George's eyes narrowed as he processed Michael's challenge, and what happened next shocked everyone in the studio. Instead of backing down or attempting to regain some semblance of professional composure, George doubled down with a vengeance that revealed something deeply personal driving his attack. "Personal attack?" George laughed bitterly. "Michael, everything about this conversation is personal because everything about your career has been personal. Personal connections, personal favors, personal deals made in private rooms that the public never gets to see. You want to talk about what journalism is supposed to be? Journalism is supposed to expose the truth, even when that truth makes people uncomfortable." Michael's patience finally snapped. "Expose the truth? George, you haven't presented a single fact, a single piece of evidence, a single concrete example of anything you're accusing me of. This isn't journalism. This is a hit job. And frankly, I'm starting to wonder what your real motivation is here." "My motivation?" George's voice rose to a level that made the sound engineers wince. "My motivation is serving our viewers who tune in every morning expecting honest conversations, not carefully choreographed publicity tours designed to sell tickets and maintain images." "Carefully choreographed?" Michael stood up abruptly, his movement so sudden that the camera operators had to quickly adjust their angles. "George, I came here prepared to have an honest conversation about my work, about my passion for film, about the stories I want to tell. You're the one who turned this into some kind of inquisition, based on what? Rumors, gossip, your own personal issues with successful black men in Hollywood." The race card being played so directly sent shock waves through the studio. George's face went from red to purple as he processed the accusation, and his response revealed just how far he was willing to go. "Don't you dare," George hissed, pointing his finger directly at Michael. "Don't you dare try to make this about race when this is about accountability. This is about holding people responsible for their actions, regardless of what they look like. You don't get to hide behind your identity when the questions get tough." "Hide behind my identity?" Michael's voice boomed across the studio now. All pretense of media training abandoned. George, my identity isn't something I hide behind. It's something I carry with pride. It's something that makes every achievement more meaningful, because I know how hard it was to get here. And the fact that you would minimize that struggle, minimize what it means to succeed in an industry that wasn't built for people like me, shows exactly who you really are. George shot back immediately, his journalistic training completely forgotten. Oh, who I really am. I'm someone who has spent decades in this business, asking the hard questions that other people are afraid to ask. I'm someone who doesn't get starstruck by celebrity or intimidated by fame. And I'm someone who recognizes manipulation when I see it, even when it comes wrapped in inspirational speeches and designer suits. Manipulation. Michael stepped closer to the desk, his imposing physical presence suddenly very apparent on camera. George, the only manipulation I see here is you trying to destroy someone's reputation on live television without a shred of evidence to support your claims. You want to talk about decades in the business? I've been working since I was a child, grinding, studying, perfecting my craft while dealing with rejection and discrimination that you couldn't even imagine. Every role I've gotten, every opportunity I've had, I've earned through talent and hard work. Not through some conspiracy you've invented in your head. Invented in my head? George was now standing too. Both men facing each other across the anchor desk like adversaries, rather than interviewer and guest. Michael, I have sources. I have people who have worked with you. People who have seen how you operate when the cameras aren't rolling. People who know about the phone calls, the pressure campaigns, the way you've systematically eliminated competition. Then name them, Michael challenged, his voice cutting through the studio like a blade. If you have sources, if you have evidence, then present it. Stop hiding behind vague accusations and innuendo. Put up or shut up, George. The challenge hung in the air, and for a moment George faltered. His mouth opened and closed without sound, and it became clear to everyone watching that he had nothing concrete to offer, that his entire attack had been built on assumptions and rumors rather than facts. I protect my sources, George finally managed. But his voice lacked the conviction it had carried moments before. You protect your sources because they don't exist, Michael fired back immediately. You protect your sources because you know that if you had to provide actual evidence for your claims, this whole performance would fall apart. You've spent the last 10 minutes trying to destroy my reputation based on nothing but your own personal feelings about me. And now you're hiding behind journalistic ethics that you abandoned the moment you decided to turn this interview into an ambush. George's facade cracked completely, and what emerged was pure, unfiltered hostility. You know what, Michael? You're right. This is personal. It's personal because I'm tired of watching actors like you get praised for the bare minimum, while real journalists, real storytellers, real people who actually matter get ignored. You make movies, Michael. You pretend to be other people for a living. You contribute nothing meaningful to society except entertainment. And yet, you're treated like some kind of cultural icon. The studio went dead silent. Even the most experienced crew members had never witnessed anything like this on live television. Michael stared at George in complete disbelief, processing the fact that a respected news anchor had just dismissed his entire profession, and by extension him personally on national television. Real people who actually matter? Michael's voice was quiet now, but it carried a dangerous intensity that made everyone in the studio hold their breath. George, are you seriously suggesting that actors, that artists, that people who dedicate their lives to telling stories and inspiring others don't matter? Are you seriously that bitter about your own career, that you need to tear down other people's accomplishments to feel better about yourself? Bitter about my career? George exploded. I've won Emmy Awards. I've interviewed presidents. I've covered wars and elections and stories that actually change the world. I don't need validation from Hollywood or from actors who think they're more important than they actually are. Then why are you here? Michael shot back. If actors don't matter, if what we do doesn't contribute anything meaningful, then why do you interview us? Why does Good Morning America book actors at all? Why are you wasting your time and your Emmy Award-winning talents talking to someone who doesn't matter? George had no answer, and his silence spoke volumes. The contradiction in his position was now laid bare for everyone to see. His personal animosity exposed as the driving force behind an interview that had gone completely off the rails. You know what, George? Michael continued, his voice gaining momentum. I think I understand what this is really about. I think this is about you realizing that your relevance depends on people like me agreeing to sit in that chair and answer your questions. I think this is about you recognizing that without celebrities, without actors, without the very people you claim don't matter, morning shows like this one would have no audience. And I think that threatens your sense of importance as a journalist. George's response was swift and vicious. My sense of importance? George's voice was a low growl, laced with venom. You think this is about my ego? This is about the truth, Michael. The truth that people like you are so desperate to bury under layers of PR and carefully constructed narratives. The truth that you're nothing more than a product, a commodity, designed to entertain and distract while the real world burns. The real world burns? Michael's voice was now filled with a quiet fury, a dangerous calm that was far more unsettling than any shout. George, I've been to places you've only reported on. I've seen the real world. I've worked with communities, built schools, funded initiatives that actually make a difference. What have you done, George? Besides sit behind a desk and tear people down. The question hung in the air, a direct challenge to George's self-proclaimed moral high ground. The host's face was a mask of pure rage, his eyes darting around the studio as if searching for an escape. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. You want to talk about truth, George? Michael continued, his voice rising slightly, but still controlled. The truth is, you're a bully. You're a coward. You're someone who uses his platform to project his own insecurities and failures onto others. And I refuse to be your punching bag. With that, Michael B. Jordan calmly unclipped his microphone, placed it gently on the desk, and without another word, turned and walked off the set, leaving a stunned George Stephanopoulos and an equally stunned studio audience in his wake. The cameras continued to roll for a few more awkward seconds, capturing George's bewildered expression before the show abruptly cut to a commercial break. The silence that followed was deafening, a testament to the magnitude of what had just transpired. The internet, of course, exploded. Within minutes, clips of the exchange were going viral, sparking a global debate about journalistic ethics, celebrity privacy, and the true nature of Hollywood's biggest stars. Was Michael B. Jordan right to walk out? Was George out of line? One thing is for sure, Good Morning America will never be the same. And the world just got a glimpse of a side of Michael B. Jordan we rarely see, a man of unwavering integrity, pushed to his absolute limit. What do you think about this shocking confrontation? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more exclusive content like this. If you were as shocked as we were by this interview, hit that like button and share this video with your friends. What are your thoughts on Michael B. Jordan's reaction and George's questions? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into celebrity drama and untold stories.